Hello students, this is Mr. Whaley with another Historical Thinking Skills tutorial. Today we are going to be looking at close reading. When we look at our historical thinking chart, we see the last skill listed is close reading. For many, close reading can be one of the most difficult skills to master. When we're looking at close reading, the first thing we want to think about are the claims being made by the author. What is a claim, you might ask? When it comes to analyzing historical documents or artifacts, the author's claim is going to be the information they are asserting to either be factual or true. Once we've established what claims are being made by the author in the primary source, we need to put on our detective hat and look closely for any clues that would provide us with evidence that is going to support the author's claim. Without supporting evidence, a claim holds little to no merit. The last thing we need to consider is the author's perspective. Perspective might influence the evidence the author is choosing to share within the primary source. This is perhaps the most difficult part of close reading because it requires the reader to ascertain information that's not actually there. You have to read between the lines, so to speak, or decide if the author is perhaps hiding something in an effort to strengthen their position. So let's look once again at our primary source, which we've already established as a topographical map of New Orleans. Let's start by reading the information at the top. Here we have our map's title, subtitle, and the key to our map. This key contains the information we need to be able to actually make sense of what this map is telling us. To the right of our title, we see our scale. The scale allows us to know the spatial distances being represented on this map. Next, let's look at the bottom left-hand corner where we have our sourcing information. The sourcing information provides us with proof or evidence of where the data represented in our key was actually collected from. Next, we'll shift to the other corner and look at the authorship information. Here, we can see who commissioned this map, the Greater New Orleans Community Data Center, and we can see when and where it was published. Lastly, when we look at a map as our primary source, we want to look at the natural and man-made features that are represented on it. This map shows us the Mississippi River, which runs through the city of New Orleans. It also shows us 3 other significant bodies of water. We can also see how the neighborhoods are divided up, and if we zoom in even further, we would be able to see the street names and the names of other significant landmarks and buildings. So let's focus on the area of the map here, and let's zoom in here. Now, as we look at these different neighborhoods of New Orleans, we can see a significant difference in the elevations. Specifically, the elevation closest to the water in this image, the Mississippi, is higher than the elevation as you get further inland towards the center of the city. So as you can recall from our previous tutorial, this map was made in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Knowing what you've learned about the flooding that happened after Katrina, a close reading of this map offers evidence that explains why the flooding situation was as bad as it was. The higher ground closest to the Mississippi River, which I've illustrated here, represents the commercial district of New Orleans. This is where your tall buildings, your businesses, your hotels, your restaurants, and large quantities of urban development exist. Not only is this area higher, but it contains significantly more man-made development, concrete buildings, paved roads, things which are impermeable and offer nowhere for water to either infiltrate the earth or to be able to flow naturally back into the river once it's receded. So now we're going to shift our focus to the north. When we zoom in on this section of the map, we see even more low-lying land. And this low-lying land does not have a buffer between it and the lake. These red low-lying areas, which are several feet below sea level, are largely residential areas. Thus, when the floods came, the people of New Orleans bore the brunt of the flood damage rather than the commercial centers. So when we're doing our close reading, we want to first look at the questions that we should be considering when doing a close reading. So what claims are being made by this map? The map claims that the red areas are lower in elevation than the lighter areas. What evidence does the author use to provide sourcing? What evidence does the author use? They provide sourcing data that tells us how they created this map using geographical data. And as far as the author's perspective goes, we know the map was commissioned by the city during a catastrophic natural disaster. It's coming from a place of concern for its residents. So, after close reading, what should a student be able to do? Well, first, you need to make sure you can identify the claim or claims being made by the primary source. You need to be able to evaluate the evidence and why the author chose the evidence to support their claim. Lastly, you need to be able to evaluate, when applicable, why the author might choose to use certain words rather than others. Are they providing praise or criticism? Are the word choices even and objective, or do they demonstrate any degree of bias? And lastly, these are the prompts you might consider using in your close reading analysis. I think the author chose these words in order to. The author is trying to convince me. The author claims. The evidence used to support the author's claim is. Using these prompts will allow you to demonstrate your understanding of not only the important details of a primary source, but the reasons why they are in fact important.